Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to just pause for a second, maybe even close your eyes, and let your imagination completely take over. We are looking at the absolute, breathtaking climax of a sprawling 66-book epic. I want you to envision the old heavens and the old earth, literally everything you have ever known. Every physical structure, every hospital, every historic battlefield, every ounce of sorrow you've ever felt. Envision all of it quietly, almost peacefully, burning away into ash. But listen, this isn't some chaotic, terrifying destruction. It's more like watching old, dry, dead leaves turning to dust in a vacuum, gracefully making way for something entirely new. As that ancient dust clears, picture a pure, monolithic point of light beginning to expand in the total darkness. It grows, it's magnificent, it's wildly cinematic, piercing right through the void. What we are exploring in this explainer today is not the end of the story. Not at all. We are witnessing the cosmic formatting of a deeply corrupted hard drive. It's the clearing of the stage for the most epic, beautiful, and hyper-realistic reality ever conceived in ancient texts. Welcome to the New World. Here, there is no death, no sorrow, no pain. Just let the sheer weight of those words sit with you for a moment. So often, right, when we think about the end of the world, our minds immediately jump to those dark, apocalyptic Hollywood blockbusters. You know the ones. Meteorites crashing, cities exploding, utter terror. But the source material we're looking at here, it completely flips that narrative on its head. This is absolutely not the terrifying, fiery end of humanity. Think of it more like the universe, after thousands and thousands of years of groaning, of endless wars, of disease, of heartbreak, finally taking its very first uninhibited breath of true freedom. It's the ultimate exhalation of cosmic relief. The harsh survival mode that has relentlessly defined the human condition since the very dawn of time, it's over. Done. This right here, this is the beginning of what it means to truly live.
So, to really grasp this, it's absolutely crucial that we understand exactly what is being replaced. Look at the old order. It's defined by words that carry such a heavy, visceral, almost exhausting weight. Sea, death, tears, night, pain. Now, in ancient Near Eastern literature, the sea wasn't just, a nice body of water for a summer beach vacation. Not at all. To the ancient mind, the sea was the ultimate symbol of chaos. It represented dangerous, untamable turbulence, the abyss, and deep, terrifying human isolation. So when the text explicitly says the sea was no more, think about the emotional gravity of that statement. The disappearance of the sea means the permanent end of all human isolation. It means the end of those chaotic, unpredictable storms that suddenly capsize our lives. And then, look at what replaces it in the new order: the tabernacle, life, joy, eternal light, healing. This isn't just a slight, incremental improvement in our living conditions. It is a complete structural inversion of reality as we know it. And this quote brilliantly illustrates the sheer, mind-bending scale of what is actually happening. Behold, I make all things new. Notice what the voice from the throne doesn't say. It doesn't say I am making old things a little bit better. It's not a localized repair job. It's not a temporary software patch for a broken, buggy world. No, this is a cosmic-level system reboot. The text describes the New Jerusalem literally descending out of the sky from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I want you to imagine the cinematic majesty of that slow, deliberate descent. Picture a colossal city, glowing with this intense divine radiance floating down through the atmosphere. It's pristine. It is completely untouched by the bloody corruption of human history. And it brings with it an entirely new operating system for human existence. It's a literal marriage of heaven and earth, a permanent, unbreakable union replacing a very long, very painful temporary separation. Now, right as we take in that massive cosmic scale, the narrative suddenly becomes intensely, almost overwhelmingly intimate. God's tabernacle.
For centuries, across countless cultures, the divine was always seen as distant, right? Veiled, hidden behind incredibly thick temple curtains, or residing far away on unapproachable, lightning-covered mountaintops. But here, the ultimate shocking declaration is made. God has moved into the neighborhood. The vast, terrifying distance between the divine and the mortal is permanently eliminated. The text literally says God himself will be with them and will personally wipe away every tear from their eyes. Try to visualize that specific level of intimacy. The creator of the cosmos, the Alpha and Omega, reaching down to physically wipe away every historical tear you have ever cried. It's the ultimate sanctuary. It is the final, completely secure, safe harbor for all human suffering, where every single trauma is finally met with infinite, gentle comfort. But hold on, because the text shifts right back from this tender, quiet intimacy to some seriously mind-bending, impossible geometry. 12,000 stadia. Let me try to paint the picture for you here. We are talking about a city that is mathematically perfectly symmetrical. Its length, its width, and its height are all exactly the same, 12,000 stadia. To put that into our modern perspective, that translates to roughly 1,400 miles. A cube, a 1,400-mile cube, or perhaps a massive towering pyramid. But either way, a flawless geometric form stretching from the surface of the Earth way, way up into the stratosphere. Why a cube, though? Well, in the ancient temple, the Holy of Holies, the absolute inner sanctum where God's pure presence dwelt, was a perfect cube. So this geometry is actually sending a profound message. The entire city, the entire everyday dwelling place of humanity, has now become the Holy of Holies. The scale is just breathtaking. It's easily big enough to comfortably house billions of people, yet it remains mathematically flawless. And enclosing this colossal towering structure is a wall of jasper, measuring 144 cubits thick. Now, the text actually specifies that these are angelic measurements, human measurements that are being used by an angel. 144 cubits is over 200 feet thick. That is a massive, massive wall. But here's the fascinating part. This wall isn't meant to keep enemies out. Remember, we just established that chaos, the sea, and death have already been completely destroyed. So what is it for? This massive, glowing wall of jasper radiating a brilliant, unearthly, translucent light serves as a monumental architectural frame. It highlights the distinction, the absolute, undeniable sacredness of what is inside. It is a protective, luminous embrace wrapping around this entirely new civilization. It stands as a towering, beautiful testament to the unshakable, eternal security of the new world. As we conceptually walk step by step into the city, we are immediately met with an overwhelming, almost incomprehensible level of luxury. The streets are made of pure gold. But wait, it's not gold as we know it. This gold is completely transparent, like clear, flawless glass. The 12 massive gates entering the city, they aren't made of heavy wood or reinforced iron. Each individual gate is carved from a single, unimaginably colossal pearl. And the foundations of the city wall itself are decorated with literally every kind of precious stone you can think of. Sapphire, emerald, amethyst, radiating this intense, vibrant kaleidoscope of colors. But beyond the sheer, jaw-dropping opulence of it all, I want you to notice the profound emphasis on transparency here. Transparent gold, crystal clear rivers. This imagery signifies a society, a brand new reality, where there are absolutely no shadows. There are no dark alleys, no hidden agendas, no secrets whatsoever. It is an existence of total open vulnerability combined with absolute, unbreakable safety. And this brings us to what might be one of the most radical paradigm shifts in the entire ancient text. The narrator says, "I saw no temple in the city." Now think about this. For thousands of years of human history, religion and connecting with the divine has always been mediated through physical structures, right? Temples, altars, priests, complex rituals. But in this new world, all traditional religious structures become instantly, permanently obsolete.
Why? Because you simply don't need a building to connect with the divine when the divine is standing right in front of you. The Lord God the Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. Humanity now enjoys direct, unmediated, face-to-face communion with the Creator. All the heavy, complex scaffolding of religion is finally torn down because the building of the relationship itself is entirely complete. Just imagine for a second the sensory experience of walking through this city. You look up into the sky and there is no sun, there is no moon. Our entire human biological rhythm, which has always been dictated by the rising and setting of celestial bodies, is completely transcended. The city is illuminated entirely by the unquenchable eternal glory of God. It is a perpetual, unending golden hour. Imagine a massive symphony of pure light bouncing off streets of transparent gold, refracting through towering jasper walls and shimmering off emerald foundations. And because there is no night, because the light never ever fades, the text tells us those massive pearl gates will never be shut. There is absolutely nothing to fear out in the dark anymore because the very concept of night, of darkness, of needing to hide has been permanently, irrevocably erased from the cosmos. I really want you to notice the epic, sweeping echoes of this narrative. It traces a massive, overarching arc from the very first book of the source material, Genesis, all the way to this final book, Revelation. Back in Genesis, at the dawn of creation, humanity tragically loses access to the tree of life. We are exiled. And that kicks off thousands of years of human history, a long, arduous, often agonizing middle chapter filled with suffering, waiting, building, and breaking. But look over at the end of the timeline. Eternity. Everything that was tragically lost in the Garden of Eden isn't just restored. It is actually doubly recovered. We evolved from a simple garden into a gleaming, massive, sophisticated city. The tree of life returns, yes, but now there's a river of life too. It's the ultimate resounding vindication that the long, painful, winding road of human history wasn't for nothing. It was leading to this magnificent restorative climax. Let's look a little closer at that double recovery because the details are stunning. Flowing right down the very middle of the great transparent street of the city is the river of the water of life, described as being as clear as crystal. I want you to imagine the auditory purity of this scene. In a towering city made of gold and brilliant gems, you hear the rushing, melodic, crisp sound of crystal clear water flowing directly from the throne of God. Now remember the context. In the ancient Middle Eastern world, where these words were originally recorded, water was a scarce, desperately guarded commodity. Wells were literally fought and died for, and droughts meant certain, agonizing death. But here, water is the ever-present white noise of grace. It is freely, endlessly offered to anyone who thirsts, providing an eternal, rushing vitality. It's the ultimate provision, guaranteeing that no one in this new world will ever know the desperate ache of deprivation or the panic of scarcity again. And growing on both sides of that crystalline river is the tree of life. But the text gives us this profoundly beautiful, highly specific detail. The leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. We really need to dwell on the immense historical relief of this phrase. It doesn't just say it's for the healing of individuals. It says the healing of the nations. Think about all the collective, historical, ethnic trauma that has deeply stained human history with blood. All of it. The endless, brutal cycles of geopolitical war, the deep-seated cultural misunderstandings, the horrific generational curses of prejudice and violence. Every bit of it finds its ultimate, absolute cure in these leaves. It is the permanent termination of human conflict, finally replacing fractured borders and bloody battle lines with a single, unified, totally healed civilization. However, as we look at all this beauty, the source material is also very clear that this utopia is not without its boundaries. So, a crucial point we must address, neutrally and gravely, is the ultimate standard required to enter this city. On one side, we have those written in the Book of Life, described as those who have washed their robes, who are officially granted the right to the Tree of Life and free entry through those massive pearl gates. But on the other side, the text describes the outside, a space reserved for the fearful, the deceitful, the impure, and those who practice falsehood. This is framed by the text not as some arbitrary mean-spirited exclusion, but as a deeply necessary protective filter. Think about it. If the deceitful, the violent, and the corrupt were allowed in, well, it wouldn't be a paradise for very long, would it? This boundary exists for one reason: to eternally preserve the pristine purity, the total peace, and the absolute safety of the new world.
Then, suddenly, ringing out from the throne comes this earth-shattering ultimate proclamation. It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. You really have to hear this proclamation with the epic, universe-shifting gravity it holds. It is the final, definitive signature on the masterpiece of reality. It signifies the flawless closure of a massive redemption plan that began with a single breath in the dark void of Genesis and ends right here, with the brilliant coronation of eternal life. When the creator of the universe says, "It is done," it means the struggle is definitively over. The agonizing work of salvation is completely finished. The bridge has been built, the infinite debt has been paid in full, and this stunning eternal reality is now permanently, irrevocably locked into place.
And so, what is humanity's actual role in this finished work? Because we often have this really cartoonish, kind of boring image of eternity, don't we? Floating on puffy white clouds, playing tiny harps in a state of eternal, mind-numbing boredom. But the text says something vastly more dynamic and exciting. They will reign forever and ever. Humanity is elevated. We are no longer enslaved to the exhausting, endless toil of the old world, sweating out a meager living from cursed, stubborn ground. Instead, we are brought right into the family business of the cosmos. We are called to co-reign in eternal light, fully endowed with immense purpose, boundless creativity, and profound dignity, with the very name of the divine written on our foreheads, officially claiming us as his ultimate masterpiece. Now, the visionary, John, who was allegedly seeing all of this unfold in real time, he must have been completely, utterly overwhelmed. I mean, the sheer cinematic scale of the transparent gold, the blinding light, the roaring river, it honestly sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It sounds like a beautiful fairy tale specifically designed just to comfort frightened mortals in a dark world. But right here, at the peak of the vision, an angel steps in to highlight a vital, foundational reassurance. These words are trustworthy and true. This statement is the anchor to reality. The angel is explicitly, firmly promising that this breathtaking spectacle is not a hallucination, it's not a metaphor, it's not a psychological coping mechanism, it is the guaranteed, rock-solid promise for the faithful. It is the true magnetic north of human destiny.
And that, my friends, brings us to the culmination of this incredible explainer. We have just walked through the grand, sweeping finale of a 66-book journey. Really think about what it took for humanity to get here. The epic, historical journey through the miraculous parting of the Red Sea, the desperate, starving wandering in the wilderness, the raw, bleeding, unfiltered emotion of the Psalms, the heavy silence of the prophets, the ultimate sacrifice on the cross. It has been such a long, brutal road of seeking, of terrible losing, and ultimately, of coming home. Looking at this magnificent, glowing city, it proves to the reader that not a single tear was ever wasted. No suffering was in vain. Every ounce of historical pain was simply the agonizing labor pains required to give birth to this perfect eternal reality. But here is exactly where it gets deeply, undeniably personal for you. The ancient biblical text literally closes its canon right here. The ink dries, the scroll is rolled up. But it doesn't actually end with a hard final period. Conceptually, it ends with an ellipsis, pointing straight out into eternity. While the ancient text itself closes, your flesh and blood reality, your life in the present day, is still actively unfolding. Your personal story of encountering this eternal truth, of wrestling with the concepts of the Alpha and the Omega, is really just beginning. The door to the city is left wide open. The invitation to step forward and drink freely from that roaring water of life is left hovering in the air, echoing across thousands of centuries directly to wherever you are sitting, right in this very moment. And the final, lingering words left ringing in the cosmos are these: "Yes, I am coming soon." I just want you to let the profound weight of that ancient promise settle over you.
It is a provocative, thrilling reassurance. It leaves us standing here, looking out at the horizon of our own lives, deeply longing for that eternal morning where truth, total healing, and pure love will finally flow endlessly, unobstructed, and forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the source material of the New World. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep looking forward.